In this lesson, we'll continue learning how to use multi-state objects by connecting our gallery thumbnails to their larger image previews. Okay, so in the previous lesson we learned how to create a multi-state object, and we used that for an image gallery on our introduction page. So at this point we're going to go ahead and reuse another multi-state object to connect the previews over here on the right to the small thumbnail images on the left. Now if you're working with a previous file, you'll find these gallery images in the gallery images layer right here. I've also created here a small little button that we're going to be using, and you can find that in the lesson 13_begin file. So let's go ahead and think about what we want to do here, kind of the course of action, if you will. So what I'd like to do is for each one of these seven full opacity images, these ones that aren't dimmed out, I want to be able to click on these and jump to the larger image preview over here. Now, what I also want to be able to do is click this little X in the top right hand corner, and I want to be able to close this large preview and jump essentially back to this null state right here. So we're going to use, again, a multi-state object to do this. Now, if you want to check over here these particular images, the thumbnails, I've already created buttons for these, named them Gallery 01 through Gallery 07. But let's go ahead and jump over to the previews on the right. I'm going to go ahead and create our multi-state object first here. So let's go ahead and lock our content layer so we don't grab anything that's not a gallery preview image. And before I select these images, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, because I'm actually going to jump up to this gallery images layer and just draw an invisible rectangle right here. Doesn't matter where. We're going to basically draw this object to include in our multi-state object. So with that there, let's go ahead and grab it and all of the larger images here. I'm going to come over here to the Object States panel, and let's go ahead and create a new multi-state object. Alright, so you can see here that it immediately puts that invisible object as state number 1, which is where I want it to be. Now, this is what I like to call a null state. So we want to be able to take our particular gallery back to this empty preview box right here. So using a null state, we can actually use an empty state essentially in our multi-state object. Let's go ahead and give this object a name here. We'll call it Gallery Previews. And if we want to, we can triple click on one of these states. Call this one null. Alright, great. So we've got our multi-state object created here. Let's go ahead and focus on this little close button here. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Let's create a button out of it. I'm going to call it Gallery Preview Close. I'm not going to apply an event or an action to it as of yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up cutting and pasting this button into each one of those object states. So let's go ahead and cut it here, and we'll jump over to our multi-state object again. I've noticed when you apply the events and the actions before cutting and pasting, it actually loses those. So I'm going to select my state number 2 and paste in my button here. Now with it still selected, let's come over here and apply an onRelease event to go to state. I'll make sure my Gallery Previews multi-state object is selected, and null is the state that we want to go to. So with that done, let's go ahead and click away, select our multi-state object. Just go ahead and repeat that process for each one of these states. We'll go ahead and paste in our button. We'll hook up the go to state event, or go to state action rather. And you can see that it's coming up with the default object and state that I wanted to go to. So pretty quick and easy. Go ahead and paste that in again. Add our go to state action. We're going to do this 3 more times here. So pasting it in, adding the go to state action. You can see there's a little bit of repetition when it comes to working with buttons and interactivity really in general here in InDesign. So let's go ahead and select that next state and paste it in. Hook up our go to state onRelease action. And we've got one last one to do here, so we'll paste that in and quickly add that action to it. All right, great. So we've got all of our buttons hooked up here, and let's go ahead and just zoom out. We'll fit that to page with a Control-0, and let's go ahead and focus now on these buttons in our gallery, these image thumbnails over here. Now we do need to unlock the content layer because that's where they live. So we'll go ahead and select those, and I've already, like I said, made buttons out of these, and now we just need to apply that go to state event again, or that go to state action rather. So we're going to jump over here for this particular thumbnail, choose its larger image counterpart here, do the same thing for each one of these here. Go to state, and again choose that one. It's a sea creature. Go to state, state 5. Here's our kitchen. Go to state, state 6. Our creature. Go to state, state 7. And lastly, our picture of Claire. So we'll go to state again. And she was state number 8. All right, great. So now that we've worked through that repetitive applying of events and actions here, we're ready to go ahead and preview this. So let me hit Control-Shift-Enter here. We'll wait for InDesign to preview this particular page. All right, great. So when we mouse over these now, let's go ahead and click on one. Well, there's that preview image of this one. Let's test out our close button. Well, that seems to work. Now, it's a good idea to always test each and every one of the buttons you've configured because, you know, we went through and did a lot of that repetitive assigning of events and actions really quickly. So it's possible we selected an incorrect event or action. So far we're looking pretty good. We've got each open of the preview image and each close working. That looks like we have forgot to add our button to this one. So that's easy enough to fix. We can always just edit that multi-state object again. Let me just come over here, and there we go. Everything with the exception of that one particular button looks to be working just fine. So let me jump over here and find state number 8, paste in that button really quickly, add the go to state option to it, and we're going to null again. So that should work just fine at this point. So we'll just preview it one last time to make sure that one little bug was worked out. And we'll click on her, and there's her close button. So you can see here how we can use a multi-state object to create the larger preview images for our gallery. But not only that, we can actually include buttons inside the various states for our multi-state object. All right, great. So with that said, have some fun, play with some multi-state objects in between lessons. When you come back in the next lesson, we're going to shift our attention to animation here in InDesign.